We can obviously go over how deck building next is the next and the final important thing that everyone I think needs to know. You think you get it? Okay, that's good. That's good. Glad. I forgot if Black Rose was still here or not. If he was the person who said no, it was Kirby who said he was going. Black Rose, did you get that too? Is that all making sense? So yeah, for deck building, there are a few interesting rules in this game that I actually took from Magic. So most of this game so far, I mean that's fine. That's absolutely fine, Sam. I miss playing my own game. Don't worry about it. I'll let you know if you're playing against me specifically. I'll let you know, and I'll let you take things back until you get used to it anyway. So a few interesting things so I'm sure a lot of people have noticed by now. This card game is sort of like a mixture of rules for from other card games. So you've obviously noticed a lot of things from Yu-Gi-Oh in here. The field layout is very similar to Weiss Schwarz for those who play it. The card designs and how they work is very similar to Pokemon. So the way the deck building works is a lot more similar to Magic, because I think Magic does that the best, in all honesty. So there is a minimum deck size of 30 cards. You can play a deck of 30 cards. Do I have... yes, I do. The empty meta deck here. This is the smallest deck I've ever built. It is also, ironically, the best deck I've ever built, hence why it has the word meta in its name. So a deck has to have a minimum of 30 cards, and you're only allowed to run 3 copies of each card. So you'll notice here, this little column here, it shows you the number. I don't know why I'm scrolling the mouse up and down. You can't. The stream isn't showing the mouse. I only just realised that. But yes, this number in this column here shows how many of each copy of each card is in there. So you are obviously, you can run 1 or 2 copies if you like, but 3 is the maximum you can run, except in one specific scenario that it is written on the card. As I'm sure anyone's noticed every time I've gone past, there are 7 cards here called Chaos Emerald, and they have a different coloured border. And over here in the effects keywords, they have something called Unlimit. So I don't know if this will be for any other card in the future. It might be, and if it does, it will also have a purple border. You are allowed to run 7 copies of this card. It's a very special, specific card. It says on the first line of the text, you can run up to 7 copies of this card in your deck. So that is very specific to just Chaos Emeralds right now. I will let you know there is also a future possible thing I might do. Again, it's not in the game right now, but I'll let you know now, because this obviously, people can check this in the future. If a card has a yellow border, that means you're only allowed to run 1 copy of it. There are no cards in the game like that right now. But that's basically like the idea of it being like a limited card on a ban list. There is no ban list in this game. That is a thing I really have like driven home with designing this game. There's no ban list. There never will be a ban list. There will never be a card that is banned. There was a card once that was temporarily removed from the game until I changed it, because we found out it was functionally not working, like at all. Like the card just didn't work. So we did temporarily remove that, but there will never be a time where a card will not be in the game. A card will forever be playable. I know technically this isn't a game like in a physical card game where it's like you have a card and it gets banned and you're like, oh man, I can't play this card anymore. Obviously, it's not quite the same because it's a digital card game. You have access to every card, but yeah. So because I can errata cards, and I do quite often, like every time I play against Cloudy or Lee, or in the future hopefully Sam and Black Rose and whoever else in YouTube watching, or just new players. If I play against people, I take notes. I'm always taking notes of everything. Every time you play against me, it's basically a playtest. And I'll take notes of what cards are doing good, what cards are not doing good. Like that's another thing. I don't want cards to be too weak either, so we try to buff those. I recently buffed Talim. She was an awful card that had 3 attack effects, and none of them were that useful. So we changed her to only have 2 attack effects. Where is she? But her passive says that she's treated as having 3 attack effects, so she still works with all the cards that require 3 attacks. And one of those attacks didn't change because Blade Cyclone's pretty decent. And Kali Rush, we increased the damage on. So hopefully this card is a lot more useful, especially now that her passive effect increases her damage output, you know. Yes, yeah. I mean, you call it a great feeling. I call it oh god, what have I done? I needn't talk about Desert Island ever again. Soul Calibur deck, probably not. I believe Talim, Duelist Talim, and Soul Edge are the only Soul Calibur cards in the game right now. And Soul Edge is ironically searched by one of the Duelist cards, but not Duelist Talim. It's searched by Nanachi instead, which sounds very confusing. Now I literally had never thought of that before until you just said it. That's weird. Look, if people suggest me characters to add to the game, I will always add characters to the game. I've been very open about that. Obviously, I'm trying to increase the number of players in the game. The more players there are, the more people will suggest characters, the more I will add those characters. I want to put it out there as well, just for everyone, not just the people watching on Twitch. I am more than willing to add characters I hate to the game, and I will not be disrespectful to them either. I will any card I add to the game will never be disrespectful to whoever it is I'm adding, whether or not I like the character. To prove this point, I am very specifically, there's a future update that will contain Robin from the Fire Emblem games, it will contain Yuno Gasai from Future Diary, and it will contain Emolga in the same update, and they will all be genuinely good cards. You're saying JK? No, I am adding Robin. I've already got her effect his effect, sorry, it's male Robin. I've got his effect planned out. Yes, you know what? I forgot about Crow. I will add Crow Hogan as well, yes. Crow Hogan or Duelist Crow will also be added then. And they will all be genuine effects. Oh, did you? That's funny. Well, yes, Robin is genuinely being added to the game. Like, I've already planned out the effects. I haven't planned out Crow because I'd forgotten about that. But thank you for reminding me. That it will be within the next 100 base set cards. It's basically going to be a small update that is literally, here's a bunch of things I don't like, but we're not quite going to the degree of adding Glad Beasts. Not quite that far. I don't think any single Glad Beast is people care enough about that they want me to add it. If they do, then fair enough, I will, but I feel like Gizerus is probably the most important one, and he's like kind of, I don't know how you'd make that work in the YCG, so yeah. I'm more than willing to add any card, any character. Yeah, point that Cloudy's made in chat as well there. If you are a person who is an artist, I'm putting this call out to you now, and you wish for your art to be in the card game, I cannot pay you. It is a completely free to play game. It will forever be free. I will never ask for money for this or anything, so it's just a fan project basically. But if you want your art in a card game for a character, and you want a certain character in the card game that like I hadn't even thought of, you can, if you've drawn it, and you have to be able to prove that you've drawn it. I don't want people trying to give me other people's art, but yeah, I'm never monetized. I wouldn't want to monetize it anyway. Like, I want everyone to be able to play it for free. But you can donate your art to me to put in the card game, and I will make a card out of it. Like whoever the character is, I will make a card of whatever character if you are donating your art for the card game. Every character who has art drawn by someone else does have a signature on the card. We'll go to Miku Doll here to prove it. Cloudy drew this Miku doll here, so we have a signature on the card, so I'll never try and take credit for your art either, don't worry. I won't own rights to your arts either. It will just be to use for the card game, and obviously the card itself might occasionally appear elsewhere. Like, I have a Twitter account that tweets out a YCG card of the day. Obviously, I might tweet it out at some point. There are certain cards that have other card arts in, 50 card pickup here, for example. That's the wrong one. This one here, I think it literally has Miku doll in this. Yep, right in the top corner there. So there's always a possibility, but I won't own any other rights to it. It's just, you can, if you want that, you want to donate art, I'm just saying, putting it out there, I will make a card out of any character you like, or event, or item, or whatever. You can even suggest me what you want it to do. Yes, you did do a thing for this. You did many a thing. Well, several fewer thing, at least. And you've helped me with the wiki a lot, so that's very, very good. So yes, back to the deck building. I got a bit sidetracked there. So the minimum amount of cards for a deck is 30 cards, and you can run 3 copies of any card. But you might be wondering, what's the maximum amount of cards for a deck? There isn't one. You can make a deck as big as you like, and unlike in Magic, where the rule is you have to be able to shuffle it, this is a digital card game. You can just click the shuffle button and it shuffles. So you can make your deck as big as possible. You might be thinking, right, smaller deck is obviously better, and in general, my recommended deck size is 45 cards. Technically 3 copies of every legal card. Yeah, but as more cards are added to the game, 7 copies of Chaos Emerald as well, don't forget. More cards are added to the game, there is technically no limit to how many cards you add to your deck. You might think that a deck with more than, say, 60 cards would be unreliable. So I would like to show you one of my favorite decks. It's called Magic and Pluses. It has 110 cards. This deck has a positive win rate. It might seem crazy, But the entire purpose of this deck is just to draw. You play an extremely greedy play style. You're never going to care about running out of cards because you have 110 cards in the deck. Your opponent's probably going to run out of cards just by drawing for turn every turn instead. The whole point of this deck is just to have a million cards in your hand at once, so you can use Echo's effect to get the Exodia off. It definitely works. Like, it is definitely a possibility. I'm sure there are multiple other ways you could do it. I know some people in like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, love building 60-card decks as like a meme format. Go ahead, build 200-card decks. There's nothing stopping you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Jordan in our childhood Yu-Gi-Oh games used to run like, I think that was Toby. He had like an 82-card deck, and we were like, well, technically that's not. I mean, okay, that's fine. Yeah, this game, because there is no maximum deck size, this game has a lot of cards at search, a lot of cards at draw. But also, as a side note, because this game has a lot of cards at search and a lot of cards at draw, you're probably going to run them. Bearing in mind, every time one of your front row characters moves, you draw a card. If you run the minimum cards of 30, when you've moved your 5 prizes and your 5 cards in your hand, you only have 20 cards in your deck. Assuming your 3 front row characters get knocked out every turn, you're drawing 4 cards a turn. You only have 5 turns. And you need 5 prizes. And that's assuming you don't do any searching or any drawing at all. So, while most card games always recommend you go for the minimum deck size, it actually has a downside in this deck. I would say that 30-card decks are worse than a 45-card deck in this game. And that is one of the things I really wanted to do when making this game, because I feel like so many card games, they're like, oh yeah, there's a minimum, maximum deck size. And they always focus on, oh, you always want to go for the minimum, no matter what it is, because it's better. So I wanted to build a game that didn't have the minimum deck size as the better size. You can build a 30-card deck, and the only reason 30 is the minimum deck size, honestly, is because you literally can't win otherwise. If you have any lower than 30, you probably can't. It just wouldn't work, you know? So, yeah. 30-card deck's not necessarily the best way to build a deck. So let's build an example deck. I think Cloudy suggested that doing a sort of idea showing how to build a deck would be good. There are ways around it with cards that recycle. Yes. I've constantly nerfing cards that recycle. Doctor got nerfed. Wally got nerfed. What's it called? The Sandcastle Kingdom got nerfed, but before it was released, so it technically never got nerfed in the game. It used to just when I first made the card, it was like, oh yeah, every card that should return to your deck adds to your hand, and then I remembered 50-card pickup existed and nerfed it instantly because I was like, hang on a minute, that just adds 50 cards to your hand. Never mind, no, we're not having that. That's not a thing. Lee might remember, actually. I think I posted the effect a long time ago. It might have been after I changed it, actually, but a long time ago, way before the beach update or anything. I just posted the effect in text on the Discord, which is a great segue before we build this deck. If you people at home watching on YouTube, because I know all the people in Twitch chat are already on the Discord, would like to join the Discord, there will be a link below to the wiki for this game. There is a wiki for this game. Very useful resource. It has all the cards on there, a bunch of tips and stuff on there. Like, all the rules are on there as well, written down, if that's easier for you to learn that way. There is a link on the wiki to all my socials, which specifically has the Discord link. Now on the Discord, we have a separate chat for the YCG. I will take requests, yes. Suggest a card to me and we'll try and build around it. But yeah, we have a separate chat for the YCG, which not only will you get to see cards before they're released, like you'll get to see effects that I'm pondering making things on. And we just get to discuss the game in general. You can find people to play with. I would recommend joining the Discord server. It's very useful. I mean, it's just my Discord server as well, so if you're just there for non-YCG things, you know, we've got a bunch. We got a friendly community from the people that actually do talk, and it's not like super talkative, so you don't even have to worry about, oh, it's going to spam your Discord or whatever. We don't chat all that often, so it's just a nice place to be. Envy. The Inside Out characters, huh? That would be an interesting deck to build around, you know. I've never tried building a deck with that, so that's actually perfect. That's what we're going to do then. So we're going to try building a deck around the characters from Inside Out. So, for those of you who don't know the movie, you've got the 5 emotions: joy, sadness, fear, disgust, and anger. So they all have effects that work together. So each one has the first passive. This one is, while you control this card, each player draws 1 more card at the start of their turn. Seems very useful, but obviously it also helps the opponent because they draw an extra card. And obviously, unless you somehow play this in your opponent's turn, they're going to get the first extra draw. The second passive of this one is, each time your opponent plays a card with any of these keywords, which is a huge list of keywords of things that make people happy. You can choose for both players to draw a card. So one use you could have for Joy is if you have a bigger deck than your opponent, these effects make both players draw cards in general, so you can try and deck them out. A third effect is a trigger. Each one has like one trigger. If you control Sadness, you can draw a card. So they all require you to control another one. So we'll look at Sadness. Sadness's first passive is why you draw a card. Each player must discard one more card when they use an effect that requires discarding. Which, if your opponent, that's kind of a tricky effect to use. If you can get this card onto your opponent's field, it could be useful. Obviously, it affects both players, but this card itself, its second effect, does discard. You can discard a card and choose a character with 5 max HP or a human. Human being a character with a human keyword. That character is unaffected by your opponent's card effect until your next turn. Obviously, that's useful, but with that first passive, it does mean you have to discard 2 to use it. So, it's not the most useful. But her third effect, Trigger, if you control Anger, send one card your opponent controls offline. You can just remove any card from your opponent's field for free. You can remove a front row character, remove an item, move their arena, whatever you want. So that is incredibly useful. So Sadness is useful to run just for the draw of Joy and for using her trigger effect. So we have Fear. While you control this card, all characters in the field take -2 from damage from attacks. So their first passives tend to affect both players in these cards. So your characters take 2 less from attacks, but so do your opponents. Not that you're super attacking a lot here. The passive, run away. When your opponent plays a card with any of these scary-looking keywords, you can target one character with 5 HP or a human, and then that character cannot receive damage this turn. So that could be very useful. There's a lot of keywords there that people do play. Monster, Blade, Darkness, Villain, Fire, Firearm. They're all pretty common keywords, or reasonably common. So each time your opponent plays one of them, you can choose one of your characters, and that character cannot take damage for the whole turn. So that's obviously a very useful defensive technique. If you control Disgust, target one card in your opponent's field, it cannot activate any effects or attacks. That's permanent. That's not until the end of the turn, by the way. That is a permanent effect negation. You basically, I mean, if you target a help card of theirs, you turn it into a junk card. If you target a character, you've just turned it into a meat shield of hit points, and that's all it is. So, again, their trigger effects are really useful. That's like the kind of thing you want to build around here. Yes, it's very, very good. So Disgust, wait, draws card. All cards sent offline are considered for doing scraps. There's a lot of uses you can have of that. So you're obviously going to want to run Scrapyard with this. The only problem with that, obviously, is your opponent's cards are also scrapped, so your opponents could also get the draws from Scrapyard. Of course, there is a methodology to that where you could you're making your opponent draw with Joy anyway, so the whole deck out idea, maybe. A passive, when your opponent plays a card with any of the more gross keywords. I say gross. There wasn't quite as many keywords for this. I wanted to have a sort of even amount of keywords, so I did put things in here like retro, simple, alcohol, just things that some people might not like, you know? I mean, I don't like alcohol, so I thought that one kind of worked. Obviously, I love insects, but I know some people don't, so I thought, well, you know, they were kind of a bit more difficult. So it's fine. You can return any amount of cards with 5 max HP or human from your field to your hand, so you can just do a mass bounce. Which is incredibly useful if you've sat there and used all your trigger effects. You can bounce all your cards. That none of these trigger effects are once per turn, just to point out. So you can use them all again, which is incredibly useful. It does also mean if you have passives that aren't once per turn, you can use them again. I don't know if any of these passives there are like activate things. It's normally just when your opponent plays a card, except for this one, which isn't once per turn anyway. It's just you have to discard 2 cards for it. Yeah, Sadness, if you have a giant hand, by the way, you can just keep using your effect. Yeah, these are all guard point targets. None of them have muscle, though. So yes, back to Disgust. Trigger. If you control Joy, you can reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. Wait, I've misread that. Yeah, you can reveal the top card of your opponent's deck. So you either send that card offline, or you put it back. But if you send it offline, your opponent can choose to draw a card. So again, with the whole theme of Joy, making your opponent draw cards, you can basically look at that top card of the deck, be like, right, I don't want them to have this card, so I'm going to get rid of it. Or you can be like, no, you can keep it and put it back on top because it's a garbage card you don't want them to have. But if you get rid of it, they get to draw another card, which is 2 cards out of their deck. So if you are going for the whole method of trying to deck your opponent out, that's another useful strategy there. Finally with Anger, who I feel like is the one that doesn't quite fit in with the rest, but gives you an alternate win con with them. While you can draw this card, all card effects deal 2 damage. So if you're running him with like Duelist Javel, for example, he already makes effects deal +4 damage. So with this, you can have like multiple of this and a Duelist Javelin on the field. You could do like +8 damage of burn effects. You could be using stuff like Fireball or Evil Idol. You could build up a real big burn deck. Yeah, there's a lot of burn potential stuff here. He doesn't actually have the fire keyword, even though his head is literally on fire. That was intentional. I gave him the explosive keyword instead, so it still makes sense. But I thought a lot of fire cards are like burn cards. With Fireball, Evil Idol. And Heater exists to search fire cards. Fire cards are very easily searchable, so I intentionally didn't want to make him fire because I didn't want him to be super easily searchable, which I feel is fair. So his second passive is interesting. All your characters with 5 max HP or human deal +9 damage with their basic attacks. If it had fire, it wouldn't have had it anymore after a single game. Yeah, I already thought that much through, though. So, remember, every card has a basic attack. So all these characters don't have attacks, right? So if they're in the front row, you can actually attack with them now. Dealing +9 damage is pretty good. So with them, that'd be like, okay, you're hitting for 10. But there's definitely more uses for that. I'm trying to remember if that card is in the game yet or not. I think it is. Right. Give me a second to think. Because there is a character who has an attack, like a regular attack, that is treated as a basic attack. And I'm trying to remember if it's already in the game or not. I have a feeling it's not. I have a feeling it's in the next update. It's very difficult for me to keep track of what's in the next update and what's already added. If it's not ringing a bell for you, then I'm guessing it's in the next update. Which all the cards in the next update I have on this computer right here. So maybe we could do a card reveal here. If I can work out which one of these it is. It's none of them. Okay. It must be a super future card then. Ignore me. But in the future, there will be attack effects, in quotation marks, one that's written on the card that specifically is treated as a basic attack, but obviously it deals more damage because it has more base damage to begin with. Gran and Vegeta are 2 characters off the top of my head that I know have that. They have a sword swing attack. There's just a basic attack that does 5 damage. So you're plussing 9 with anger. That's 14 damage for a basic attack. And remember, basic attacks can get around a lot of other things. Yes, Not a Dull Move is a very powerful card in combination with these. What card I mentioned there? We were talking about Anger's aggressive. I was talking about there's future cards coming out. One's called Gran and one's called Vegeta. They have the same effects. One of their attacks is a basic attack. One of their attack effects is treated as a basic attack, so it doesn't count as an effect when you use it, but it starts with 5 damage rather than 1. So that is something to keep in mind. Yes, so Not a Dull Move, a card that Cloudy just mentioned, is after Yuri Doll. Where's Yuri Doll? There she is. No, that's... Oh, the card is actually called Unplushant, which is, yes, a very terrible chess pun. So target one character you control with no attack effect. That character can now use a basic attack, ignoring any game set that shouldn't allow it, which in case you're wondering what that is, that means you can use it on a back row card, which can do a basic attack, or you can use it on a Doll card, which is why there's Dolls in this card, because Dolls normally specify they cannot attack, so you can force them to be able to attack with this. And then that basic attack deals +8 damage for each Doll card you currently control. If a target has Genius, they also are affected by character effects, which is just an extra bonus. So obviously, +8 damage for each Doll you control, even if you only control 1 Doll. +8 from that, +9 from Anger. You're already hitting for what? 17 damage of a basic attack? 18 damage because it's plus 18. +17 even. Yeah, well, it mentions the name of the card on that info box, so no excuse. So, if we're going to be playing around these cards, we probably want to look for cards that have 5 HP. So, these useful little boxes over here. For you guys at home, or playing on the program, these little search boxes over here are underneath the card image, not to the side of it. I've moved it to the side for the stream layout, so it's easier for you to see. But just so you know, these boxes are below the thing if you're looking for them. So there's different things you can search here. So if we look for HP contains and type in 5, it will also search for cards that have 15. That's just something in the program. And also the one card that has 25. I forgot there was a character that had 25, to be honest. But then if we sort them out by HP order, we'll have all the 5s next to each other. So remember that all these cards specifically affect cards with 5 HP. So any other character with 5 HP obviously is going to be very useful to us. No, because I didn't write it in as 05. I wish I did. I'll be frank. I really wish I wrote it in as 05. Then you would be able to, but I didn't because I was very lazy, and coding out this entire thing as one person takes an awful long time. And going through all of them and changing all of the 01, 1s to 01, 2 to 02, etc., that would take me quite a long time just typing the number 0. So frankly, I can't be bothered. Take that for what it is. So let's look at all the other characters that have 5 HP. We have Remy, who's right here, as a fellow Pixar character. Now, I don't know if Remy really helps them. I mean, you can equip him to a character with human, which obviously we're going to run some characters of humans. Characters with human, sorry. So that's useful, so give him the third effect, but all of his effects require the food keyword. So if we're not running any cards with the food keyword, Remy's not really going to be very useful to us. So we'll probably leave him out. Not could be very useful to us. Yeah, it's possible, but I feel like that would be stretching it a bit. Not could be very useful to us. So, while you control a character with 3 attack effects, this card is unaffected by opponent's cards, which, straight off the bat, if we control any characters with 3 attack effects, let's say, for example, Corin or Dragonblood Prince, both of which have 3 attack effects, both of which have human, I'm pretty sure that Dragonblood Prince also can increase the damage of attacks, so that could be pretty useful. This card is just completely unaffected by everything, so if you're using that in conjunction with, being one of the 5 HP things, could be useful, right? Yeah, so Fear says can't receive damage, right? So if we have Not on the front row, while we control characters of humans, affect it with Fear's Runaway, so it can't receive damage, you've literally made an invincible card for the turn. Well, while you control a card with human still. So they have to get rid of all your cards of human to get rid of her. But thankfully, she's got more effects than just that. So you can use this trigger once per turn. If your front row character is attacked, so yes, you can use this trigger in your opponent's turn. I guess it's technically possible to use it in your turn somehow. If you attack a character who has that one Moon Mirror shield, because that attacks in your turn. But whatever. You can use this trigger in your opponent's turn. But because the trigger, again, you can only use it once because then you'll become dormant afterwards. You can send an item you control offline to negate that attack. I don't know why it doesn't scrap. I feel like that was just an oversight on my part, that the effect doesn't scrap an item, or maybe that was intentional. I'm not sure, to be honest. But either way, if you've got a bunch of useless items on your field, that can be very useful. So you can negate attacks even. So basically making a very survivable field here. What was the last effect? If a character you control has either Dragon or Royalty is sent offline, you can send this card offline, play that card in this card zone. We can use that to bring back Corin or Dragonblood Prince, since they both have both of those keywords. That could be useful. Uri here, I'm not sure is that useful for us. I mean, she has human and 5 HP, so maybe. Obviously, our first passive is utterly worthless to us because we won't be running the rest of them probably. Search for cards of music keyword. Is Joy of Music? No. If we're running an arena, we could use this to search for Miku. But again, yeah, it depends which human do. I mean, Miku doesn't even have human, is the problem. So, and then her attack, not very strong attack, but they become unaffected by card effects and cannot activate effects until your next turn, so swings and roundabouts, really. It could be useful, but we'll see. Mr. Mew, if we're running the Dole thing, considering this has 5 HP, most Doles have 1 HP. This is the one Dole that has 5 HP. Also increases the damage of cards of Psychic keywords, so if we're running Neko and Shiki, that could be useful. It's a possibility. Just because he has 5 HP, obviously we can make this card unaffected by other things. We can obviously force it to attack with On Plachant. There are a lot of useful things with that. And if we're forcing it to attack, and we've got Anger, this feels like the most useful Dole out of all the Dole cards to run with that, because it's the one you don't want to send offline. All the rest of them, they have an effect, you play it, and you send it offline. Mew Dole is kind of useful. It has an effect you can send offline your opponent's turn to negate an attack, so we might run that one too. But yeah. And then we have Skull Servant. It's the last character with 5 HP. I don't know if this will be any use. I feel like it won't be. Characters. This character deals +2 damage for each character with any of minion or undead you control. None of the rest of ours do. If you control 5 characters of undead, this card cannot be sent offline except for being knocked out. It cannot be damaged by card effects. I mean, that's nice, but again, we're not really going to be doing that. You can reveal this card when you draw it, discard it, and discard one random card from your opponent's hand. So, that effect could be really useful. If we have Sadness on our field, and we draw this card, we can discard it. And now, I know it says you have to discard multiple cards, but you don't have to discard him twice, because he's only discarding himself, right? You're not discarding a card from your hand, it's just himself. And force your opponent to discard a card. It's random cards, so they don't get to choose. I just get to pick a random one. But we get to discard 2 cards in their hand. There aren't many cards in the game that actually discard from their hand, but that could be useful. And for those of you who know the game, I'm sure you're already thinking of what I'm thinking of with Skull Servant. There is a card called Hajime, who, when your opponent discards or scraps a card from their hand, you get to deal 5 damage to a character on the field. So we can just start doing, like, we discard 2 cards in their hand by discarding Skull Servant. We get to deal 5 damage to 2 characters in the field, or the same character twice. There's a lot of possibility in a little burn damage deck there, right? Also, it won't be 5 damage, because if we control Anger, it'll be 7 damage. Yeah, Sadness has Darkness, right? Yep, she does. You can search for Sadness with him as well, yes. So we're probably going to... I should be putting some of these cards in there. Let's put 3 of each emotion in, because they're the key cards of what we're playing. I realise I'm talking about these cards. I'm not actually plotting them in when we're talking about them. So, we decided we're going to run Knot. Probably 3 off, because she's very useful. We're probably going to run Mr. Mew. We'll put 3 off for now. The way I like to build decks personally is when I like a card for the deck, I'll put 3 of it in, and then at the end of it, I'll see how big the deck is and remove cards accordingly. That's just my personal preference. You can choose to build decks however you like, but that's just how I do it. So I'm thinking maybe we could run Skull Servant for his passive when you draw him, especially when you consider how many cards we're drawing with Joy. She does specifically draw. She's not searching cards. Like, obviously, you could search Skull Servant as well if you really wanted to, but you probably wouldn't. But I think we could do that. So his attack, this attack does +1 damage to each other character you control. Opponent cannot change the attack target of the attack, and any effects that would negate the damage except damage reduction is ignored. So that could be useful as an attack, but I feel like we're, focusing on using him for his discard could be really useful. If you draw him in our opening hand, it sucks though, because I don't think we have a way of getting rid of it. Well, then again, we can just discard it. If he's a dead card in the hand, we can discard it for Sadness. So it's not the end of the world. Or for Hajime, I think he discards. I can't remember. Right, so next we want to look for... Well, let's look for... we don't want to type this in HP. Move that. We want to look for effect keywords containing... Let's look for Doll. We've already decided we're going to have some Doll cards. So Unplush is an obvious. Even if you don't have many Doll cards, just 1 on your field increases the damage, Causing Dolls to be able to basic attack is super useful with anger. I'm really surprised that all of the Doll cards in the game don't have... Oh, I guess because they have Doll in the name, right, yeah. So, Shiki, once per turn, you can add a Doll or close card from your flying pile to your hand. Attack does +2 damage to each other character with Psychic Hero to control. Neku, you can draw a Sun offline with your opponent. You can send this card you control offline. Okay. So, I'm not sure about this one. Okay. That's great. See you later, buddy. And if you do feel like watching the rest of this, I will have it up on YouTube at some point. I'll probably have this section separate from the other part, so the people can just watch the first part with the tutorial and then watch the practice game and then watch the deck building. I'll have it as like 3 separate videos. I will probably have this up if you feel like watching through all of this. So I'm going to put 1 off Shiki in for now, because we might run Shiki if we're running Dolls anyway. She's got Human, obviously, so she works with that. If we're running Neku with her for keyword basis. Now, the problem with the keyword basis is Neku likes lots of keywords, and these cards have very few. They're designed intentionally to have very few keywords. Dolls have very few keywords too, so I'm not sure Neku will actually be that powerful. So, swings and roundabouts on that one, really. This one's useless to us. Lily, she gains the Doll keyword. That doesn't really help us. I mean, it could. When does she gain it? To the end of your next turn. Like, if we had her on the field when we're playing Omplashant, I suppose. I don't think other extra effects are that useful to us. Dimensional, mythical, or space. Well, if we're running Mudol, I literally can shuffle Mudol back in. But, and second card draws, arenas. We're not really running arenas for this deck, probably, so I don't think that's super useful. Hanako, we're running 3 off. If we're running dolls, we're running 3 Hanakos. You don't not run 3 Hanakos if you're running dolls. She searches them and then she can replace herself. We've got 3 Amplashants in already, so we're now going to have to actually search for name contains doll. Where's that? Name contains doll. So yeah, Mudol is probably the one we definitely want to run 3 of because it's the best one. It's just 3 HP. That's really random. I think it's supposed to be because it's a, you know, like a substitute from Pokemon sort of thing. I think any like Pokemon-based doll cards I was doing, since the literal doll cards are based off the Pokemon card Pokédoll in the first place, they all have the you can send it offline to negate an attack, which is similar to how it works in the video game. I mean, yes, regular Mew is also pretty good for here. We will get to that. So if we're going to run psychic stuff, yeah. But yeah, this is. I figured I was probably going to make all the Pokédolls have 3 HP just for that reason. I'm not sure it really matters that much. Human Collector. That's interesting. I don't know how many. Hajime has Human Collector. So that, yeah, Mewdoll's effect there could be useful. Let's see what else we got here. So Mikudoll adds a card with famous on music. I don't think we have any of those right now. And it only has help cards, doesn't it? Item or event. Oh, wow. That's very specific. This is a very old card. It might get a... I don't know if it'll actually get a buff in the future because this card constantly gets better over time, but, you know. Toadette Doll just reduces damage. I don't think that's going to be useful to us because if our characters are taking damage, they're probably getting knocked out since they will have 5 HP. So, not super useful. Natsuki adds food cards. We kind of decided against that. What can give the love keyword? Not really useful to us. Monica Doll adds cards to the AI keywords. If we were doing music with Miku, that would work. But again, not really that useful. We're not playing cards of Yukiverse, so... Yuri Doll's one's a blade keyword. We're going to run Corrin, right? And Black Dragonblood Prince. They both have blades, so Yuri Doll might be worth it. Also, you can just increase your general damage output with this. All characters you control do a +2 damage and are unaffected by your other effects that increase damage. Oh, okay, well, that's not quite as useful, but... Dummy. I mean, Dummy is a doll card, but I'm not sure how Dummy would really help us in this deck. Literally, aside from the fact that he has the doll, it is a doll card. It doesn't really help any of the other things we do. I think we'll run like 2 off Yuri Dolls. The Yuri Doll is School and Quad, which can add back the Yuri Doll itself. Does Hanako have Quad? Quad is not actually what the keyword is anymore. It's like Quartet now, but whatever. It's an old card. Actually, not that old. Wow, I must have changed the keyword rather recently. Dummy gains Blade when he uses his attack. He actually doesn't have Blade as one of his keywords. Since it's not really part of his character, it's just literally in the game Undertale, it's a joke attack that he's like, I've got a knife, and he throws it, and then he doesn't have a knife anymore, because that's all he had. This can draw us cards. So next turn, draw a card each time a character you control is knocked out. Which, if we're going to run a big deck, that could be useful to get extra draws, especially as our characters are quite weak. Also, if we end up with a front row of doll cards that normally don't get you draws, you still get your draws from that. So I feel like running 2 of this might not be terrible either. Just so we've got a bunch of doll cards to work with. So 2 Yuris, 2 Sayuris, 3 Mews, and 3 Mr. Mews. I didn't even think about that. 3 Mew dolls, and then 3 Mr. Mew, who is a doll. Speaking of Mews, let's go add a regular Mew while we were thinking about it. Well, actually, we've got a few cards we were thinking about. Let's order of name, please. So let's add in Corrin first. So Corrin obviously has human. She has 3 attack effects, which works with not. She's just got generally good attacks overall. Her keywords are pretty useful. I don't know if we need any more of them other than Human Blade, Royalty, but they are there, should we need them. And while we're doing characters with Human Blade, Royalty, and Dragon, let's add the other one that has almost identical keywords. So what is his damage increasing thing? While you control this card, it's treated as 3 attacks. You can choose to give another card Dragon, but only once. If you have 6 different characters between your field and hand and the Dragon keyword, all your front row characters currently in the field gain +6 to attacks this turn, cannot be sent offline by events or arena cards next turn. Okay, so I'm not sure how useful that will be to us. I don't think there are many native cards with Dragon. It has to be 6 different characters as well. Are there even 6 different characters? I feel like you have to give Dragon to a card to even get that. I feel like there are literally 6. Okay. So unless we were building the Dragon deck, that's not super useful to us. I mean, Azura might still be a decent card to run though, to be fair. Just because she doesn't have Blade actually. She does have Human though. She does have Hero. Actually, how many do these guys have Hero? They don't. Okay, I was just wondering, because obviously Corrin and Dragonblood Prince have Hero. So I was wondering if running Hero's Gate would be worth it. Because then we could also run Orb with that, and then run what's his name? You know, the summoner. Yes, she can. Curse, Darkness, Dimensional, Evil, and Loathe. So we can send offline. Name, please. Sadness has Darkness. Disgust has Loathe. So we can send offline 2 of them. With that, and then draw a bunch. I think Azura might be. So I am coming up with like a subplot to this deck, a sub win con. So does anyone remember this nice little card called Miriam? Where are you, Miriam? There you are. Card after Knot. That's nice. So Miriam has a trigger that targets one character on each side of the field and swaps those characters around. The characters cannot use triggers or attack this turn. That's fine. Wait, you cannot target an item. Yeah, I changed that. I forgot about that. So I can't give them a doll card. We obviously got doll cards in the deck. I cannot do that. But what I can do is give them one of these garbage 5 health characters, right? So if we're using Hajime, which we are running 3 Hajimes. Miriam also... No, she doesn't have... I was going to say Miriam also has Darkness. No, she literally has Light. Good job, me. If you give them a 5 health character and then force them to discard something, dealing the 5 damage from Megrim with Hajime here, you could guarantee getting a KO on one of their characters because you've given them a character with 5 HP, because we have so many characters in our deck with 5 HP. And if our basic attacks aren't hitting that much, like they're only hitting for 10 because they're using Anger or something, we can still knock out a bunch of their characters if we are giving them weak health characters, right? If you're running a deck with so many low health characters, I feel like running a character that gives them characters would be worth it. What do you reckon? I believe she has Human as well. She does. She's got Demon, Shardbinder. I don't know if we have any other cards of Demon in our deck. We don't. I don't know if there are any other cards with Demon in the game right now. There must be. There are 5 cards of Demon. Okay. Well, if we're trying to up burn damage, we could... Duelist Jevil doesn't have... So for those of you at home that don't know, that aren't in the Twitch chat, Duelist Jevil is one of the most annoying cards to me, because I filled up his keyword text box, so he's missing several keywords that he just should have, and doesn't have them because I couldn't fit them in, and it annoys me to no end. The Undertale character that switches that has Kirby version. Oh, Mew Mew. Mad Mew Mew. She can swap a character from your opponent's back row to the front row, and then the Kirby version of it can also swap a character from your field to your opponent's field, which are doll cards. So that does kind of fit with the deck. We could definitely run that. Yeah, she's a doll. Yep, she's a doll, and so's the Kirby. Right, so anyway, Miriam, her demon effect, her passive, once a turn, search a deck for a card with demon, send it offline, and then resolve this effect as an effect on that card. So if any of these have a useful passive, that might be worth running. I can't use it with Maroth. You could use it to heal with Yukari, but our characters have such low health, that's kind of pointless. You could use it to have Miriam resolve Jevil's Let's Play a Game. Really don't think that's worth it. If Duelist Jevil was a demon, like he should be, we could send him offline and get his passive effect to search for the Joker, which would be an incredibly useful card in this deck, since there's quite a few things here that have triggers that we want to use and then still be able to attack, right? Like Azura, for example. She has a trigger that we want to use and still be able to attack. Obviously, all of the emotions. Yes, there will be multiple. I mean, actually, a card design. So, see, that's kind of funny. So, Cloudy, you know of a new duelist, a card that will have demon, will have effect searchable for that. Whereas Lee knows of a new magic card that is going to be added that has demon that will have incredibly useful effects with Miriam. In fact, a demon that very specifically has an effect if it's sent from the deck to the offline pile. Isn't that handy? I have a feeling that Miriam is a card that Lee's going to be running in the near future when that card gets added. I still feel like running Miriam is worth it just for the trigger. I really do wish Duelist Jevil had Demon. Has to be said. Maybe we'll add that as one of his keywords later, because I feel like that's an actually useful one. Rather than it being iconic to his character, it's not super important, which is why it doesn't have it. But I feel like it would be useful. A lot of these keywords aren't necessarily useful. That one really would be. Because being able to send this offline and just burn for 4 damage, you know? He can do anything, even not having Demon. Yes. Look at all these keywords. There's so many. It's just so difficult to choose which ones to get rid of, you know? I think I discussed it with someone the other day. We decided we were going to get rid of Simple and Genius on him, I think is what we were doing. And we were adding something, and whatever the thing we were adding, I can now add Demon as well. Rescue Rabbit and Marin. We don't have another beast. Oh, you mean for like for the low health characters? Yes, that is an effect that Rescue Rabbit has. So before we get into that though, are we going to be running Duelist Jevil with the extra burn damage? Because I feel like running this deck as a burn deck could be really useful, so we never really need to attack. Basically just sitting there dealing chip damage, right? Like, we don't mind if our deck's going to be quite a big deck, because we kind of, like, part of our win kind of decking them out, if we're making them draw a bunch, but also popping off any useful cards they have in their field could be useful too. So I feel like Duelist Jevil's probably the best Duelist to run, at least. Normally with decks, we tend to run one Duelist card. I feel like out of all of them, Jevil's probably the best one. Yeah, you can. You can also make them unaffected by effects, so they don't get sent offline by them. They have quite a lot of synergy with Rescue Rabbit. Obviously, they were designed in mind when Rescue Rabbit used to be able to bring 2 of them out. He obviously has changed now because Espadol broke him. So it's not quite as good, but you can bring them out with the dog still. So Neos could update. I feel like you minus a lot of cards if you're using Neos and not using Hero Gate with it, which right now we're not. I feel like we're going to run Duelist Jevil as a Duelist. I really wish he had Demon, but it's neither here nor there. We'll run 3 copies of the Joker because that's incredibly useful, especially, you know, burn damage with dealing extra burn damage with anger on the field. Deal for 6, that's already useful. Getting to use triggers and then attacks, it's useful. If you get a Duelist, it balances out. True, but only if you get a Duelist. And the Duelist, in this case, would be getting us an item, not another character, so it's not necessarily balancing out. So, okay. So here's where we're at with the deck right now. So we've got a lot of things that burn. So do we want to have Mew Mew as well? Mew Mew doll. Just have every card that has the word Mew in its name. I didn't realize quite how many cards in this game have the word Mew in its name, you know? I assure you that wasn't intentional. Like, I didn't think, yes, I'm just going to add lots of cards that have Mew in them. Pure coincidence. Tell one character in the back row for this attack, switch that character into front row before dealing damage, and if you've already taken a prize card this turn, you cannot take another after using this attack. Oh, yeah. I was really confused. I was like, why do you have that? And I was like, oh, yeah, to stop you, like, emptying the front row and then taking a second one. View tiled for easier viewing for chat. Okay, yeah, good call. Is that easier viewing? I might be. Yeah, I mean, I guess. If that's easier, then that's not easier because chat covers it. Chat is covering quite a few cards now. That is unfortunate. I'll just take that off. Hey, Cheers. I don't know why we're looking at you. I mean, you're great and all, but I don't think you help us at all. What were we looking at? We were talking about cards of darkness and human. Reaper could be useful. Just because he's a great card. You know? He's a strong card. He's got human, so he can be affected by that. He's got darkness, you know, so he works with a lot of dark cards. He's good at surviving. He can heal himself. We don't have other cards that are good at surviving. I don't know if we are going to have any dice roll effects. Probably not. Well, that's more of a counter to dice roll effects than anything. But we could run 2 off Reaper, would be quite useful. So one thing I was thinking... so we have Reaper in here. And we have... Never mind, I was obviously thinking of something else. Ignore me. Well, don't ignore me, because that would be silly, but... Shizune. Would Shizune help us? I mean, she has darkness, but I'm not sure her effects are particularly useful to us. What number is she? There she is. Yeah, I'm not sure, like, she's really that useful to us. Yeah, so Amalgam was probably going to run a 3 off. So there is a very useful card in this game, known as Nightmare Amalgam. Anyone who plays Hearthstone will partially recognize this card, mostly for its name and its effect, not quite for its artwork. So for anyone curious about its artwork, it was supposed to represent every keyword in the YCG at the time. So obviously there have been keywords added since. Most of this little collection of keywords down here, apart from just being the fact that he has collectible and collector, were the old series keywords, which don't exist in the game anymore, so a lot of them aren't really relevant, but the artwork still stayed there. But Nightmare Amalgam has every single keyword in the game, but he only has 2 of them at a time, or if he's on the field, he only has 1 of them at a time. But it's incredibly useful, so anytime you use an effect that requires a specific keyword, you can be like, yeah, for this effect, I'm treating him as this keyword. While he's in your deck, you can just search for him with basically any searcher, because all searchers in the game either search 1 or 2 keywords, mostly, unless they're searching for like a doll card or something, which obviously you can't search for that. But he's a very useful generic card. It does mean that he has things like darkness for effects. He can cause your opponent to discard with his attack, which is really helpful for Hajime here. So there's a lot of synergy there with the deck. Yes, it can absolutely backfire as well. Like, him having every keyword means he has every keyword. So while you get to choose what keyword he has for your effects, your opponent gets to choose what keyword he has for their effects. So if they're attacking it with Scrap Dragon, for example, they will choose for him to have a keyword that means he'll take an extra 4 damage and be able to get knocked out in 1 shot. Because I'm sure you did notice, he does actually have quite a chunky amount of health, 15 HP. He's quite tanky. But he's actually not that tanky at all, since quite a lot... There are a fair few attacks in the game that are sort of generic attacks, but just deal a bit extra damage to certain keywords or something, and it will always do extra damage to him. So, Talon, if we're going with the triple attack cards, which we do have right now, and if we're going to run Rescue Rabbit as well, that Talon would be very useful. We could even run Duelist Talon as well. Was there a card there that didn't have an artwork? Sorry. I must have just not loaded it. That was weird. Where is Talon? She's like 50-something? I just saw her. There she is. So yeah, she got a decent multi-attack there. Always shoot time for 3 attacks. Double the effectiveness of all damage, buffs, and reductions on this card. Oh! This is actually a really good idea. So, all damage, buffs, and reductions on this card. So, if you remember Anger, cards of human deal +9 damage. Did I flip my ratio on Jevils and Jokers? What? No, I was supposed to rank 3 of each. Oh, I am meant to be running 3 of each, sorry. So, +9 damage of basic attack. But this doubles all effectiveness, which means Talon's basic attack, while you control Anger, would deal +16 damage. Oh, wait, is it 9? Is it 9? Yeah, so +18 damage, which is kind of ridiculous, if you think about it. So her basic attack will be hitting for 19 damage. This passive definitely made this card a lot more useful. The fact it's a free attack character as well. Isn't that kind of funny? This character is treated as a free attack character. What attack are you using? The basic attack. That's kind of funny. But very useful. Absolutely not the worst card. No, this passive has completely moved her back into the world of relevancy. The problem was her free attacks she had were all not good. Like Blade Cyclone is decent, but you're not going to run the card just for Blade Cyclone, right? Like you look at that card, like yeah, sure, if you get some damage buffs on it, that's a pretty good attack. They can't stop it basically. Kali Rush is one of those card attacks that could be useful. Like its minimum is 10, maximum is 20. If you've got, it's coin flips, isn't it? You know, there's nothing that affects coin flips, but you know you could take a chance, deal some chunky damage. And her third attack, I can't even remember what it was to be honest. It was really bad. I think it just hit twice. Oh no, it didn't. It stunned. That was it. It stunned the card that it was attacking. It's like there's so many cards that just do this better. She didn't really have any sort of good uses. So for those of you at home, when I earlier mentioned that we buff cards, this is a perfect example of that. So obviously I wanted Talon to stay as a free attack card because Duelist Talon for her to work with it. So we gave her a passive that treats her as having free attacks, and then the passive actually had a much more useful effect that can like change her to be a useful, genuine card. So doubling the effect of damage buffs is something unique to Talon. No one else has an effect quite like that. So suddenly she doesn't just feel like a generic card. Because I think the problem with free attacks, Kali Rush is, we've still got that. We kept that attack. It was the second effect we got rid of. I increased the damage of it because 4 wasn't really that much. What was I saying? So it's an effect that's like sort of unique to her. Character free attacks tend to, it's sort of hard to make them differentiate themselves from each other, because quite often, you know, what can you do if its attack deals damage, right? Like that's what it's there for. It can have extra useful effects, but you don't want a card that has free attack effects to have too many interesting mechanics with their attack, since the whole point of them is that they are just a brute force attacker. So Talon was a card I tried to invent as a not brute force attacker that sort of did like little chip damage. Didn't really work. It just kind of made her bad. So a Windsalt, yeah, that was it. You can't use an attack next turn. Not even that good. Like it's really bad. So we got rid of that. And Call the Wind, I feel like is a lot better. Did we have Bam Mew Mew in? We did. So we haven't added Rescue Rabbit. Let's go get Rescue Rabbit. While we're here, make sure we pick up one copy of the Outstanding Dog Marin. So for those of you at home who haven't seen this card is probably the closest thing to a staple in this game. There isn't a single deck in the game that there'd be any reason not to run this, like at all. Basically, you play it to the field, you can just scrap him, draw a card, and he goes back into your deck. So you don't lose any deck thing, you basically just draw into another card, he goes back in your deck. He has 1 HP, so it's super useful with things like Rescue Rabbit. He's a beast, so he can be summoned off 2 of Rescue Rabbit's effects. And if you do keep him on the field, his passive, if a card you control should be sent offline from a card effect, you send this card offline instead, is not only incredibly useful for your opponent's card effects, but there is a card called Entry Fee, which is like 90-something? 80-something? There it is, Entry Fee 87. Which you get to add any card from the offline part of your hand while you control 4 characters, and then your opponent chooses one of your cards to send offline. It's still being sent offline by a card effect, so it doesn't matter what they choose, you can just choose to send offline your dog anyway, and every time the dog's sent offline, it goes back to your deck. So, basically, it's a card that there's no reason to have not to run it, but at the same time, it's not like an overpowered card, because, I mean, it's literally a 1 health character that has no attacks and just draws a card and replaces itself. Yeah, I mean, you can't do it more than once, but, like, in general, it's basically free, right? Yeah, you do have to have a slot to actually play the card. But if you don't, you just have it in your hand, and it's not a dead card in your hand. The point I was trying to get at is there are a lot of cards in the game that, in certain scenarios, would be considered a dead card, and you can't really do anything with it. He's not really ever a dead card. Even if you only have 1 card in your deck, he's not a dead card, because you can just draw that card and put him back in your deck instead. The fact that he always goes back to your deck as well, if you can manage to do it before the start of your every turn, you can also never deck out, but that is a lot more difficult. Just a very useful card in general, though. So if I'm making a recommendation, did we not add him? I swear I added him. I must have misclicked. Where is he? There he is. As a general recommendation, when you're building a deck, I highly recommend trying Outstanding Dog Marin. There is very few scenarios it's not good at. And if you really like him a lot, which is fair because it's a very good card, you can search him with Duelist John Wick. So, you know, he can literally search for him. There's a reason that when you use the effect to scrap himself on Maran, you can't then search it for the rest of the turn, because otherwise that would potentially be broken. Yeah, playing 2 sometimes for prizes is a good idea. I don't know if we will here. We might do. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So where is Rabbit? We want Rescue Rabbit in here. So Rescue Rabbit, for people who know Yu-Gi-Oh, you obviously know what Rescue Rabbit's first effect is. You can search for quote-unquote normal monsters, which in this game is characters with 3 attacks. Which isn't necessarily means they have 3 attacks. Some characters have an effect that says it treats as having 3 attack. So Gradius treats itself as having 3 attacks. Rose, Warrior of Revenge, treats itself as having 3 attacks. One of the cards in the deck does, actually. Dragonblood Prince. While you control this card, it's treated as if it has 3 attacks. Which actually doesn't help with Rescue Rabbit at all. Whoops. Because it doesn't have 3 attacks in the deck. But, that's not the main reason we're running this. The point is, running Rescue Rabbit in this deck is useful because we can actually use all 3. We don't have any beasts, apart from the dog. Well, we have Nightmare Amalgam, actually, but the beasts have to have less than 20 HP, which, okay, with the dog. Yeah, we could actually use this to pull out Nightmare Amalgam as well. So Rescue Rabbit is just incredibly useful. The problem with Rescue Rabbit, obviously, normally is the cards sent offline at the end of your opponent's turn. So you normally either want to do something with them, so you bring out, useful cards rather than cards you're going to attack with. Yeah, that's probably a good thing here. So, Lee, earlier you were suggesting Duelist John Cena. So, John Cena is an interesting card. He can search your deck for card with muscles, which searches for Dio. Some coward made him once per turn. Oh, is he a coward for doing that? Really, huh? Really? You don't think maybe it was, I don't know. Didn't something require famous that Cena would have? Cena does have famous in our deck. No? I don't think so. The only card I can think of that requires famous is Slapperazzi. Right? Oh, you're thinking of Duelist, what's his name? Duelist Scud, who's not out in the game yet. We were talking about him the other day. It wasn't in our deck. And don't worry, Duelist Scud is coming out soon, and it actually has plenty of cards you can search. Because regular John Wick you can search. You can search for the Explosive Girl, Miname. You're not? Okay, well, I don't know what you're thinking of then. Because we haven't mentioned the word famous once this whole time. Well, okay then. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways. It doesn't also need music, but we're not running Mikado. But okay, fair enough. So John Cena, yeah, he can search for cards with muscles, which... Does our deck have any cards with muscles in, as of right now? Yeah, Mikado's help cards. I don't think that we do. Oh, why doesn't this weenie nerd kid have muscle? Is there maybe? Nope. Dragonblood Prince, maybe? Nope. Well, I mean, no, Amalgam has muscle, but Reaper. I knew I saw a card that we had. Reaper doesn't have muscle either, really? Dude, he's hench. Why doesn't he have muscle? Okay, well, never mind then. Never mind. Scrap that idea. I was going to say maybe we could do something with John Cena, because you were suggesting him earlier. He's got human. You can do some attack things with that, but yeah, I know I can't expect you to remember cards you drew out for. Why would we do that? So if we were thinking of any other duelists, I'm not sure any of the rest of them would actually be useful for this deck. I mean, Bunny obviously searches Rescue Rabbit, which you run 3 of. So maybe one off of this would be alright. And a card with Dimensional from the offline pile of your hand. What cards do we have with Dimensional that might be useful, that we could add back with that if we actually run Rescue Rabbit? Actually run Duelist Bunny, even. Well, we could add a Zero back. That's very useful. Corin's also going to have Dimensional. Amalgam has Dimensional. Shiki has Dimensional. Mr. Mew has Dimensional. Oh, Corin doesn't have Dimensional. Never mind. Weird. There's still a few cards in there that could be potentially useful to run a one-off Duelist Bunny. I mean, Save the World's worthless because we're not running an arena, and I don't think there is any. The cloud of nano machines, not a hunk. I mean, if I have never seen you two duel against each other, so as far as I'm concerned, you're both the best YCG player because you both consistently beat me. I'm not sure if that's. I mean, hey, you might have some new competition soon now that we've got more people who know how to play the game. I think we'll run a one-off of Duelist Bunny. It might be useful just to search. I don't think Akira is going to be helpful to us. John Wick, probably not. Rice Star, definitely not. Coco, Talon? Talon was the one I was thinking about. Not specifically for Winder. You're not undefeated, Cloudy. No. Incorrect. So she can search for two characters with free attacks, send one offline, add the other to the hand. I mean, again, that doesn't quite help with Dragonblood Prince now I think about it. So that really only helps with Talim and Corrin. And we already have Rescue Rabbit, so maybe that's not a great idea. Yeah, maybe we won't do that. Okay, so I don't think the rest of the duelists are of any use to us at all. Yeah, Guard Penalty was what you were talking about. But we don't really have any cards of muscle, so it's not really that worth. Is there any cards down here that could be useful to us? I'm thinking we are close to being done. Hey, duelist placeholder. How you doing? Returns cards of hand. Transform two characters of human into cards from your deck with beast with less maximum HP. We don't have two cards of beast with less maximum HP unless we're getting the dog. That's not really that useful. Hey, we got another card to search the dog. We can search Rescue Rabbit, but we're basically just losing the two cards in the field at that point. Target character controls taking damage, restore it 4 HP, remove all counters, place an every opponent, place an armor counter, and draw a card. Your opponent controls a character with any of Demon, Dragon, or Monster. You can shuffle this card to your deck. Give all those cards. Oh, well, you control it. That makes more sense. Plus 6 damage to attacks and effects this turn. We didn't end up putting any cards of Demon in, did we? Yeah, Guard Penalty without John Cena is not really worth it, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure this is super useful on his own. I feel like this card's not that great until we add Sully to the game. I mean, I guess it's sort of the same with like when we had Joy in the game and we didn't have any of the rest of these. It was like, well, that doesn't really do much on its own. Well, he's not helpful to us. John Wick, not really helpful to us. I mean, John Wick's an interesting scenario because the whole thing with John Wick is you want to attack with him, right? So you need to protect him on the field to be able to do that. You can. He's got a human. You could protect him on the field with this deck. I just don't know how reliable that will be. And I don't have that many items that aren't dolls. I mean, we could run a bunch that we could scrap for him, especially if we're going to run what's he called, the Summoner, and then run the Gate, which is an item, and Orb, which is an item. While we're thinking about that, don't mind me for a second. I'm just going to. I mean, I'm still here talking, but I'm gonna like not be looking at the monitor real quick. What do you reckon? What do you reckon? What do you reckon on the front of putting John Wick in? I think when we were considering putting muscle cards in, I think this was more of a thing I was considering because obviously he has muscle. He could work with the whole John Cena nonsense. We could put Dio in at that point. Does Dio have darkness? I can't remember. Dio might have darkness. I don't think he does though. But that's also a possibility if he does. Then I feel like we're building a completely different deck to what we started building. So maybe not. Maybe that's a bit like too much, you know? At that point, like trying to cram too many decks in one deck. I do like trying to mix multiple decks together. But I feel like there is a limit to how much you can do that before your deck's just like not good. So maybe trying to add muscle into this emotion deck, probably not gonna really work out for us. Yeah, I mean, what's that thinking about? I will be back in just a few moments here. I am nearly done. Very sorry that, I mean, I know, honestly, it's not super important for the, well, I guess for the video I can cut this bit out. For you guys at home on the stream, you're used to this anyway. Okay, right, so we're gonna not do muscles. We are instead going to, I think we might actually be done, to be honest. I don't know if there's anything else we would specifically want in here. We were using cards that have like, what did it not require? Our character 3 attacks. Oh, that doesn't help. I was thinking like Ruxio is a kind of similar character to Corin and Dragonblood Prince, but he's not actually affected by not. Because if he was, we could run Zoe, who can attack from the back row. It doesn't specifically have to use the effect attack from the back row, but also she makes people discard. So I was thinking if we could get her on the field attacking from the back row and getting the discard, obviously we want them to discard for Hajime, right? Like that's part of the whole thing we're going with. She's got human, so she's affected by the emotions. I'm not sure her second effect would be any use to us, but it's a trigger, so we probably wouldn't be using it much anyway. Card of any AI, computer, or tech. That's your hand. I don't think we run any cards of any of those keywords, actually, apart from Nightmare Amalgam. But yeah, just extra discard could be useful. But if we're not running Ruxio, then we're only going to have her for a regular attack on the front row. Doesn't quite feel as useful. Just there aren't that many cards actually discard, you know? I haven't even written discard in her effect. Whoops. Good job, man. Builder doesn't really help us. Knuckles doesn't really help us. What elemental keywords do we have? Are any of the charmers going to be any help to us? We have fire. We have lots of darkness, but we don't have a darkness charmer. We have water. We're there with Talon. We have all of them with Nightmare Amalgam. Oh, Dragonblood Prince also has fire. So fire could be a potential. Zero has water. Does not have any. No. Maybe has light, but again, there isn't a light one yet. So darkness, there isn't a darkness one. You have none of them. I'm guessing none of the, one of these has darkness. I'm guessing the rest of these. Like, yeah, I specifically didn't add fire to anger. We could still potentially run fire, especially if we're going to actually try and run like some burn cards. We could run Evil Idol. That'd be another item for our deck. And we could actually run Heater then. If we're trying to go with like a burn theme, 2 Evil Idols, 3 Heaters might not be a bad shout to round that out. I think that's about it. Actually, I think we might take out the Shiki. Mr. Mew doesn't help at that point, so we could also remove that. So our dolls would be Yuri doll and Sayori doll. Well, okay, so doll Unplus Shunt obviously increases basic attacks, right? But would it? I feel like it would be pretty inconsistent. Hanako does have fire, yes. So Hanako can obviously search dolls, so maybe they're still useful, but she can't search for this. This is not a doll card. It doesn't treat itself as a doll card. It only has doll in the effect name, not in the actual name of the card, so it is not a doll card. Cannot be searched. Yeah, its keywords are not even useful for searching. So I don't know how consistent the doll thing would be. I like the concept of it, but I feel like now we've evolved the deck to a bit of a different strategy. I might want to take out the doll engine. Yeah. I mean, we can still run a one-off Hanako. If we're going to run, like, does Mudol help us? Do we have Collectible Monster or Human Collector? Human Collector gives us back Hajime, which is our key card, right? We don't have many air. We only have one card with air, I believe. I feel like we want to run one Mudol, at least just so we can return him back, because he is one of our key cards of the deck. So running a one-off Hanako. Still not a bad shout, because we can search it when we need it. If it gets prized, we don't care. So let's remove Shiki. She doesn't help us. Remove Mr. Mew entirely. He does have 5 HP, but whatever. It's not really worth it. Mudol, we will cut down to 2, but we will still run. Can he search anything else? Well, obviously he can give us back Nightmare Amalgam. He can still negate attacks, which is also useful. Collectible Monster. Do we have anything like that in our deck? I don't think so. Unless Skull 7 has it. He has Monster. Isn't a collectible. No, it doesn't seem like we do, but that's, you know... I guess there aren't any other human collectors here. Corin's not a collector, is she? No, I didn't think so, but... Actually, are you a collector? I don't know, you might have been like a collector of souls or something. So collector is one of those keywords that I'm never quite sure like what has it and what doesn't. You know? It's just sort of a more interesting one. Yeah, big basic attack. We could run Winder and Doorless Talon. That is definitely a possibility. And then we could run Win as well. And we could try and fit some more. Let's look for cards with air then. Yeah, Demon didn't help us much. Because there's quite a lot of cards with air because of all the Kirbys. So for those out of the loop on how broken Winder is, every Kirby card has air. Which also makes Win incredibly useful for a Kirby deck. No one's ever really tried building a Kirby deck. There's a new Kirby coming out in the next update, so if you want to run all the Charmers alongside Kirbys, Water Kirby has water. We don't have an Earth Kirby yet. We have Fire Kirby that has fire, obviously. All the Kirbys have air. So it's basically only the Earth Kirby that can't search anything. Just putting that out there. So yeah, let's run the Win engine. Did we take out the other doll? Sayori doll. No, we should take out Sayori doll and Yuri doll as well, I think. I know Yuri doll can add useful stuff back, but I feel like we only really were running it for Unplushon, right? Would cosplay Kirby count for the hypothetical set when it go in the Kirby stuff? It entirely depends. I mean, there is literally a set of cards that is just Kirby's, so likely anything Kirby related will end up in there apart from the stuff that's in base set already. There might be like 1 or 2 more base set cards, but for the most part, it's just going to end up in that set. Oh, we searched for cards with air, didn't we? Whoops. I did think there wasn't quite this many. Let's put a comma after that. Air is a common word in between other words, like fairy tale. So Nino doesn't really help our deck. We don't have any characters with Stealth Blade. Elwind is obviously a very powerful attack, but it's not super useful. I mean, we have Mad Mew Mew in here, right? Right? Do we not? Oh, I thought we had Mad Mew Mew in here. Because if we were running Mad Mew Mew and therefore we're running the Mew doll, because we want to give our opponent our 5 health characters, right, to be able to burn them. So we could actually run like regular Kirby. So another interesting thing you can do with Kirby, regular Kirby here. So it says target card on the field that shares a word in their name, except Kirby, with a Kirby character in your hand or your flying path. Scrap the target and send this offline. So you can target an opponent's character with this, right? So if, for example, we had Mad Mew Mew on our field, and we had it's called Dummy Kirby, isn't it? Never mind. That doesn't even work. It's called Dummy Kirby. Whoops. I wanted to call it Mad Kirby, but I was like, that doesn't sound right. It just sounds like it's an angry Kirby. Never mind. Yeah, that Kirby doesn't really help us, actually, now I think about it. I mean, Dummy Kirby does have air, so we could definitely search it with Win. We definitely want to put 3 wins in. She has human, right? Yeah. Oh, she still has Yu-Gi-Oh! Wow. American Kirby needs to be a card. Does it? Are you sure? I'm not so sure about that. So I was about to be confused as to why Knuckles had air. Oh yeah, he glides. He does do that. So yeah, we're thinking Duelist Talon. Did we add Winder in already? Yes, we did. Okay, so now we've got sort of like an air engine. We could still run some Kirby stuff. Would Rainbow Dash help? He's the only character you control fast. Add a card with air from the offline part of your hand. You cannot play it this turn. I don't think any of our characters are fast, right? I don't think we run a single fast. Oh, Duelist Jevil has fast, right? Yeah. Apart from Duelist Jevil, I don't think we have any other characters that are fast, so that could be very useful still. There would be another Beast. Was that something we wanted Beast for? Oh, we can bring out with Rescue Rabbit. So, I mean, I guess obviously Nightmare Amalgam has all the keywords. What do you reckon? That's a solid idea? Whatever it was we were just talking about? Wow, I just had a brain fart. I completely forgot what we were talking about. Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash. What do you reckon? I mean, its second effect, you can scrap a card with any of air, ice, light, moon, nature, sun, or water. Target a card with a different one of those keywords and add to your hand. See if we have any of those keywords. Nature. We have nature on. Oh yeah, both Talons have nature, so that's already useful. Honestly, that might just be it. The two of nature, but I guess Winder also has nature. Yeah, basically any Winder deck kind of works with Rainbow Dash in the first place just because of that, right? Yeah, I don't think we have any of the rest of those keywords, but I feel like Rainbow Dash is still useful just for that. And we're running Rescue Rabbit. It's an extra air card. Chihiro? Yes, yeah, we were looking at transforming humans into beasts, weren't we? I don't think we ended up running her. Not Hazer? No, she doesn't. She has wings. We literally can see all the cards there. Yeah, she has Fairy Tail. She has wings, but she does not have air. We could run Nice On, but kind of gets countered by all the air cards. But it does have air. We can search it. We're not going to run that. Yeah, Dummy Kirby is still a possibility just because I like the concept of swapping cards with our opponents. But we do already have a 75 card deck, and I know we want to build a bigger deck than our opponent. I feel like 75 is quite an amount bigger already, you know? I feel like this might be where we stick this deck, you know? What do you reckon? You reckon that's all she wrote? Oh, you know, actually, before we go, I don't think this works. I don't think this works. But I'm going to check anyway. I have a feeling I haven't written this on many cards, which is why this is not going to work. Yeah, I literally have only written it on these two. Okay. There are a few cards at discard that I just haven't mentioned it on. Offline Recovery. Offline Recovery of what? We've got Winder to bring back all our air cards. We've got Mudol to bring back our Hajime. We've got Rainbow Dash to recycle cards. Actually, Hajime, do you have any keywords that could possibly share out of curiosity? Oh, wait, Mudo, do you have nature? Regular Mew does. Oh, we haven't added in regular Mew as well. We forgot about that. Let's go grab regular Mew, which also has nature, which is super useful with Rainbow Dash. I gotta say, Rainbow Dash has become incredibly useful lately. She wasn't like a super useful card for a while, but recently she has become pretty handy. What number is Mew? I have no idea. Anyway, what number is Mew? I have no idea. Wow. Good job, mate. Good job, me. Remember when I made Mew the same number as its Pokedex? Out of all the cards in the game to forget the number of, that's honestly quite impressive. So again, for explaining for people who are watching along at home who aren't familiar with the game, why Mew is quite so useful. Also, we took out the psychic cards. We probably don't want Espegal. Well, Espegal is an incredibly useful search card, which searches cards with psychic, which Mew has. Mew also has collectible monster, so it works with all the Pokemon sort of effects. It has mythical and beast, which there are quite a few effects that are specifically searched for mythical beasts. It's going to be a new one in the next update. So its keywords are amazing. Mew's keywords are fantastic across the board. Nature, Zen, just retro. It has all the useful keywords. There are a lot of keywords in the game that are just okay, and then there are a lot that are like far better. It doesn't have all the best ones, but it has a lot of really good ones. And then its effects. So Metronome can basically copy any attack from your hand, which you'll have to limit your hand size to use it successfully, but it can be very good. Cyburn is straight 15 damage that can't be, well, unaffected by damage increasing effects, but 15 damage with no downside is pretty good, honestly. And then Transform lets you change this card into any character in your deck, but its HP changes to 1. And you don't draw a card when it leaves the field. So you will neg a card, assuming the card you play doesn't like plus you. But you can search your deck for any character. There is no other card quite that powerful. Mew is a very powerful card. We have looked at Mew a few times, wondering if it should maybe be nerfed, but honestly, it doesn't seem to have been too much of a problem. For the most part, it's combo decks that use it. Since if you're playing like big beefy decks, which tend to be the better decks, like muscle decks or dimensional decks, which tend to be the more stronger, you don't really need Mew. I mean, you can run it, maybe get something out of it. Go Mew into Especull to search for another Mew, I guess. Why not? But like, if I send you a video eating a Mew, no, if you send me a video eating a Mew, I'll stop talking to you. You're not eating my favorite Pokemon. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, that's probably what we will do, Cloudy. We'll just stop it from being able to use triggers or something. But for now, it's fine. So it's a very useful card for combo-based decks, mostly. And honestly, I want to give combo-based decks all the help they can get, because in most card games, combo-based decks are the funnest ones to play, but they're also the worst decks. So I wanted to have a card that helps improve their capabilities of actually performing their combos, because searching for any card in the game, even if it's got a strong attack but it only has 1 health, it's like, well, that's not really that useful. So, yes, here, obviously, we can search into any of the emotion cards. We can transform into Rainbow Dash to get the passive and the trigger, to get, so we get the plus off of that. We can go into Heater to get a search, although that's not quite as useful, but because we don't get the draw afterwards, but that's okay. Still goes neutral or win. Win probably as our bigger search card here. There are a lot of useful things. Or Rescue Rabbit. Transform into Rescue Rabbit. Send Rescue Rabbit offline. We don't care that we don't get the draw at that point, There are definitely some useful things to do with that. So the last thing we were considering was the whole Summoner Gate thing. I'm thinking we're probably not going to do that now. It's very good. Summoning Gate Orb. Summoner. We've got a bunch of cards of Hero. And that's another way that you can search for basically any character. Actually, we can search Duelist Bunny with this. I didn't think about that. So, it's still a possibility, but I feel like we've got 78 cards. It's quite a lot. Probably don't really have the space for it. So I think we'll try this deck out as it is. Let's call it Emotional Turmoil. I don't know. So, over here, start a new game. So for people who are watching the video and learning how to do things, the top left corner there's a thing that says main menu. You can start a new game from up here. I know you can't see it on the thing, but it is up there. So we will load this deck to me. Then we will swap to our good old friend Test Dummy over here. Streams build a board shop. Like a shop that sells skateboards? Or a builder board shop? I think it's probably what you meant. Gotcha. I was very confused for a second there. Which deck of these would we like to face? I'm not going to face tutorial deck. Obviously, we're not going to face a starter deck. Empty Metal would be a faster deck to face. I'm not sure it would really show off the capabilities of the other deck. I think it would just win really quickly, since it's basically like a zoo deck. We could play against my nature deck, build a bear workshop, and not just a shop. Oh, is that what you were thinking of? Right, okay. Ignore explosive deck. That is a deck with future cards in mind that aren't in the game yet, so that's not a finished deck. I've just saved it as it is. the cake deck would take too long, I feel. I don't want the stream to go on forever, so we could run another Yukari deck maybe, hero deck, nature deck, or gem mill. Which one? Which one do you reckon? I don't want to fight. The tutorial deck is not a deck. Just to show you what it is, it's that is a deck. Never mind. Wait, what the hell's the difference between a tutorial deck and the starter deck? Okay. I thought the tutorial deck wasn't a deck, to be honest, but also I'm still not doing it. Showing how deck building. Well, I mean, yeah, but I want to show off another interesting example for how a deck plays. Let's go Gem Mill. Gem Mill's an old deck, so it's not going to be quite as good. But let's. Wait, am I selected on? Yeah. So let's play against Gem Mill. So first thing you do, same thing. 5 prizes. Nearly kicked reveal card. No, draw 5. Okay, test dummy has an interesting hand. Add 5 prizes. This time we'll actually do the whole d20 thing. So I'm going to roll d20 against 7. Test dummy roll a d20, got a 10. So test dummy chooses for me to go first, because why wouldn't he? I draw a card. Some people like to go first. But, yeah, there are 2 beat structure decks I could have done against. Yeah, they're not super great. Could have done that. Right, so here we are with our starting hand. So it changed my art again. Changed to the old art. I'm thinking we want Heater in our back row to search for something. So we're going to do that. We're going to use Heater's effect, Summoning Flames, to search for a card. We're probably going to search for Hanako, because we have a one-off copy of Hanako, if you remember. Assuming she's not prized. If she's prized, we can't, but in a big deck like this, when you run a one-off card, you kind of want to search it as early as possible. Oh, wow, did it really get prized? 78 card deck. The one card we're searching for got prized. And this is why you don't run one copy of a card if it's important. Thankfully, Hanako isn't super important to our strategy, so that's fine. But there is a perfect, non-scripted proof of why running a one-off of a card is a bad idea sometimes. Is the dog in here? Yes, okay. We do have Marin. We do have Marin. Okay, so if we're searching for a card of fire, we can't search for Hanako. We could just search for another Heater. We could search for Dragonblood Prince. So we can set a chunky attacker down. Or we could search for Evil Idol. I'm thinking we'll search for Evil Idol here. I think that's the most useful thing to search for. Obviously, we'd much prefer Hanako. We can't search for her because she's actually in the prizes. So we're going to have this Evil Idol. We're not going to play it yet. We're gonna think first. So, I'm thinking here, ending turn with a backup might be a good idea. We'll lose a card, we'll lose a turn, but we start with Skull Servant on our opening hand. No. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna end turn. We're gonna go with the old backup. Oh, we got Anger. That's not good. That is not a card we wanted to get there. Okay. See, backup can sometimes really screw with you. So, it's our opponent's turn. We're playing the Gem Mill deck. So I have Duelist Akira here. What is the plan for this? Okay, so we're going to play Duelist Akira first. I don't think there's any demons in this deck, so Talk Out of Doom is not super useful. Mistaken Duelist, we can search the deck here for a Suika card. I can't remember exactly how this deck's built, so I'm not going to look through the whole deck to see what's here and what's not. We'll just sort of go with the flow. So I'll play that Suika card onto the field, very useful. Each time you resolve the effect of a card with the money keyword, you can return that card from the field to the hand to draw a card. So that only works if the card is still in the field. So for example, Wad of Cash, if you control a character with money, you can draw a card and reveal it. If the card doesn't have money keyword, you can remove it from the game. If it does with your characters, the money keyword +2 damage to them. So you can then bounce it to the hand. But it has a second effect. If this card is scrapped, you can add an item to your hand. You can't then bounce it because it's already off the field. We don't actually have a character with money here, so that's not really very helpful. This is actually a really bad hand. So I'm thinking we're just going to play Tails. We're going to activate the gadget for every occasion. Once we're done, draw a card and reveal it. If it is a character, place it in the bottom of your deck, deal 5 damage to a character, which will burn anger away and win. We possibly should have considered running Tails in our deck, actually. I didn't think about that. He also has air. We definitely should have been running Tails in our deck. Oh, man. Also, we can give out 2 armor counters, deal burn damage, and then just gain armor counters. We should be running Tails. That deck we were playing, Tails is an absolute must-run. Okay. If it's an item, place an armor counter on the character you control, and if it's not, send it offline and this card is unaffected by help cards. So we reveal the top card of our deck. It is a character. So it goes back in the bottom of the deck. We get to deal 5 burn damage. We get to knock out this anger over here. Just scroll to the bottom, place this Jirachi on the bottom. We do not need to shuffle. So anger is sent offline. We over here get to draw a card, and this player over here gets to take a prize. Imagine getting a prize for summoning Tails and using his passive effect. So he can still attack for 12 damage of Energy Cannon and knock out Hita here, which, you know, is incredibly useful. Or we could just use Tornado 2 and gain armor counter on Tails and on Akira, which could also be useful. There are definitely options. So I think we're going to play What If Cash onto the field in case our opponent decides to scrap it. What happened after backup anger? So we started this turn. Akira, search, Suika card. Tails, use gadget for every occasion. By the way, we should be running Tails in the other deck. It's so good for this other deck. Revealed a character, so it dealt 5 damage and just popped the anger straight away. So we haven't attacked yet. Even though we only have 1 character on the field, this is actually going relatively well. So I think we're going to do Praise Helix to fin the deck here. So Praise Helix plays a Helix Fossil card from your deck with its effect negated. So we're going to play it over here because the effect is negated. So I like to put them in separate piles. But also, what's the other part of its effect? If you control a Helix Fossil when you play this card, all your characters gain Holy and Simple and then you draw a card. So if we already have a Helix Fossil out, even if it's effect negated, you get a draw from that. So it's kind of a useful card. Basically, it's a nice thing to fin your deck. Why is it still revealed to us? Thank you. So that thing we put on the bottom of the deck is now not on the bottom anymore. It's been shuffled back in. So yeah, we just have Helix Fossil here, just sit on the field. We don't need it right now. I think we're going to go for... I think we're going to play Rainbow Dash. We're going to, with Tails, going to use Tornado 2, target a character control, place an armor counter on both this card and that card. So both Tails and Rainbow Dash get an armor counter. And then Rainbow Dash is going to use Sonic Boom for 10 damage. We do unfortunately control another cover fast because Akira gains fast while you control Suika card. But 10 damage on the Hita, knocking her out. We don't get a draw for that one because it's the back row card. And with that, the turn is over and passed back to us with our new deck we've just built. So, here we are. We have drawn into Dragon Blood Prince, who has an attack that can deal damage to a whole row of characters. These characters don't have a super lot of health, but they do have armor counters, so that is kind of a problem. Now, if we can manage to steal this Rainbow Dash, which we do have Miriam here, that could be very useful. So here's what we're going to do. Is that what Tails is known for? I feel like Tails is actually an incredibly good card. It just doesn't get used very often. So we're going to play Skull Servant, which is an absolutely worthless card. We're going to play Miriam. Did we end up putting a Carbon Demon in our deck? I can't remember. I don't think we did we? So we're going to just straight use... actually put Miriam in the back row because we're using Invert for her. So we're going to use our trigger, Invert, type one character on each side of the field and swap those characters. So we're going to swap Skull Servant and Rainbow Dash. Which means we get Rainbow Dash with an armor counter, which is super helpful for our deck. And our opponent gets a shitty Skull Servant. Cards of Demon. We didn't. I thought about it and we didn't put any cards in there. I was just wondering if I should use our passive before using a trigger was all. So now we have Rainbow Dash. We don't control any cards with fast. So we can add a card with air from the offline pile to our hand. There isn't one. there is not one in there, so I guess we can't. I don't think any of these keywords are useful for Rainbow Dash, but that's fine. That's okay. Rainbow Dash is just a useful card in general. They have a crappy Skull Servant now, so that is hopefully good for us. Unfortunately, Evil Idol only deals 4 burn damage, but we're going to place it here. Any player's card plays inside left right zone. Any character placed in that zone takes 4 damage, and any character that exists in that zone takes 4 damage. So it's between turns, but we know it's at the end of the turn. So at the end of the turn, this will take 4 damage. So Tails still has an armor counter we've got to deal with. So with that armor counter, we need to hit him for 15 damage in one go, if possible. So we're going to play down the Joker. So the Joker can deal 4 burn damage to a character. Which doesn't really super help us right here. Do we need to hit him for how much damage? 13. No, 15. So we could. Okay. Okay. Got an idea. So we're going to play Not in the front row. And then we're going to play Dragonblood Prince in the front row. So Dragonblood Prince can hit for 12. Not can use a basic attack for 1 damage on Skull Servant, knocking it down to 4 health, so the Evil Idol will knock it out. And then after the 12 damage, this will be on like 5 health. So Rainbow Dash can then just knock it out with Sonic Boom. So we can get our 3 KOs. We have got this to the Joker on the field, which didn't really do anything for us. I guess we could use the 4 burn damage on Duelist Akira, because there's no point in not doing that, right? So we'll do that. We'll deal 4 burn damage to Akira with the Joker. And then we will perform that. So Not do a basic attack on Skull Servant, and then Dragonblood Prince, Blazing Circlet, and then Rainbow Dash, Sonic Boom, which will knock out both of these characters because the Evil Idol will knock out at the end of the turn. So we do get a prize. Well, our hand is looking very low right now. And our opponent gets 2 draws. Okay, so now it's our opponent's turn. They have not drawn particularly well. But, yeah, they've got really no front row. Wow, this is a very interesting duel. I've never seen a duel quite like this, where there's just this many items and characters have no attacks around. This isn't normally how this goes, but this is quite interesting. Yes, we have Summoning Gate, so we can search for a hero. Also, scrap an item in your hand, search a deck for a character with hero and add it to your hand. Now, unfortunately, we've played these items here. Do you remember how I said I didn't want to look how the deck's built because I couldn't be bothered? If we had have seen that we were running this, I wouldn't have played these items. So we could use this to search for the summoner while having the orb. We can use the summoner's effect, which would be amazing. Because then we could search for any character. So we don't want to get rid of the orb. We can still do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Hero Summoning Gate. Once it's done, you can scrap one item in your hand, search deck for a character with hero and add to your hand. So we're going to scrap the other Hero Summoning Gate. So we scrap that, search deck for a card with hero. Which we are just going to search for the summoner himself. Assuming he is in this deck. This deck might be too old and he might not be in this deck. Okay, this is a very old deck. The summoner is not in this deck. In that case, this is very awkward because I very specifically didn't scrap the orb. Oh no. This is why it's always good to update your decks, kids. When there's new cards come out and you think, wow, that card's really good synergy. We could indeed search Sonic. We don't have many cards of fast, but this is definitely a Sonic deck that's designed around Sonic, so we're probably going to search Sonic. That was, why it was in the first place. So we've got Sonic here then. So, oops, I just revealed to all players. Oh no, now my opponent will see. So Sonic is an interesting character in that he attacks multiple times. So his attack is nothing special. Ignore any effect that would cause this attack to deal 0 damage. Damage reduction still applies, but this will always deal 1 damage. That's it. Just 8 damage attack, nothing special. His passive, gotta go fast. After you attack with this card, you can select one of a character control with the fast keyword that hasn't attacked yet. It cannot attack this turn, but this can attack. There's a typo in Sonic. Card number 5. This card has been in the game since the first update, and there's a typo, and no one's noticed it. Well, I'm glad that everyone who gets to see this forever can see the typo on Sonic forever now. Basically, he can attack. The word attack has one T in it. Cannot attack this turn, but this can attack once again. The word attack is written on this card like 12 times, then one time it's like, nope, just going to spell it wrong here. It means the attack is even faster. You're right. So basically, the gist of using this card is you want all your characters to have the fast keyword. You don't attack with anything except Sonic. And then you just pelt them with multiple Sonic attacks. So the idea is you buff Sonic's attack with Dolores Akira. So she has Talk Out of Japan. Activate this effect only if you've drawn a card this turn, which is very weird wording. You draw a card every turn at the beginning of your turn. I don't know why it says that. Ignore that first part of the effect. Target one character. They deal 1 damage, plus 1 damage for each card you have drawn via a card effect this turn until the end of the turn. Yes, we also have Chaos Emeralds in this deck, which is also extra attack buffs. So this time we haven't actually drawn a character for a card of a card effect yet. So we're going to use Dolores Akira's effect to search for another Suika card, just so we have an extra card. That's the good thing about Dolores. You can always just search a card for an extra card every turn. Assuming there's one. There's one in the deck. Is there 2 in the deck? Yes. So I can do it again next turn if she lives. Always useful, just have extra cards. You never know when you might need it. I could have discarded that for the Hero Gate, to be honest. It doesn't really help us draw a card. So does this say a card of money or a character of money? If you draw a character of money, that is annoying. This doesn't even have money anyway, never mind. Opponent draws a character with the money keyword, or scrap an item, draw a card. Ooh. They don't control a card with the money keyword. The fossil on the field is negated, yeah, that's why I put it over here. It's just a dead card. So I'm thinking we might not very cash money of you. Scrap an item, draw a card. So we're going to scrap this Helix fossil that's doing nothing and draw a card. So we've drawn a card by card effect, at least one. We've drawn Miku Doll, which is great for getting back Orb. Which if I know we were going to draw Miku Doll, we would have played the Orb, scrapped the Orb, and then added the Orb back. Famous or music? Famous or music? Nope. Unfortunately, there is nothing useful there with either of those keywords. So, Miku Doll's not actually helpful. Wow, this is a kind of annoying situation to be in. So, I guess we play Aerodactyl. Not in that zone, in this zone. There is an idol there. Aerodactyl obviously useful in this deck because it can give characters in the front row fast. We're not using him for that right now. So Sonic's attack deals 8. We've drawn 1 card by card effect, so we can make it deal 9. I'm not sure that actually really helps. That damage buff is so minimal. Okay, does it help Aerodactyl? So he's dealing 14. No. Oh, Miriam has 15. So if we wanted to knock out Miriam, we could deal the 1 extra damage on Aerodactyl, but probably we're going to go Dragon Blood Prince. I don't know. I feel like because we can't get a prize this turn. It's probably better to just knock out cards your opponent has, which are more annoying to us. So we can't actually attack not unaffected by our opponent's cards while we control Dragon Blood Prince. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Aerodactyl, use Rock Slide on Miriam, which does require a dice roll. D20. If the result is 4 or lower, this attack deals 0 damage. 18. So we're good. So 14. We did the +1 from Akira. Sorry, I don't know if I did say that, but so 15. Hit the Miriam. Miriam is good. No draws for our opponent. I missed the offline button. So next we're going to use Sonic. And we're going to use Spin that, Humming Attack even. Hit Dragon Blood Prince for 8. We then resolve Gotta Go Fast. Dolores Akira has the fast keyword because we control Suika card. Her passive specifically said, while you control Suika card, this card gets fast and is unaffected by opponent's help cards. So she has the fast keyword, so we can target her. She hasn't attacked this turn since she's on the back row. Not attack negate on Sonic. She could, yes. She has skip ticket. We could skip the Joker. What is in our hand on the other player? I'm trying to work out if we would. I am... Yeah, if we negate the first Sonic, we can keep our front row character. That's probably what we'd rather do, right? Rather than negate the other attack. We do have to sacrifice our only item to do it. But yeah, I think so. When Sonic declares his attack, I think Not's probably gonna use skip tickets, because obviously if you negate the first attack, it doesn't resolve. He doesn't get to do his passive. So yeah, send item. Oh, it's only front row characters anyway, so I couldn't have protected the back row character. Right. So yeah, we'll send this offline to negate the attack, not have to worry about it, and then the turn is done. So back over here, draw a card. We are running kind of low on cards here, but now we have 10 cards in the offline pile. Rainbow Dash might be more useful. So if it's the only character with fast U control, which it still is, add a card with air from the offline pile to your hand. You cannot play it. A card with that number this turn. Do we have a card with air in here yet? We have Tails. So we're just simply going to use that passive to add Tails to our hand. We can't play him this turn, but it's useful in the future. So we've added Tails to our hand, especially knowing our opponent has Sonic in their deck. Tails has a useful extra effect with Sonic that allows Sonic to resolve an attack as a passive once per turn. So basically giving him an extra attack. If we can steal their Sonic, that could be very useful. So Rainbow Dash is trigger. You can scrap a card with any of air, ice, light, moon, nature, sun, or water. Target a card with a different one of those keywords. So, does Miriam have any of them? She has gravity. That's not any of them. That's not quite as useful. We could grab back Helix Fossil or Praise You? Nope, just Helix Fossil, since it has nature. I'm not sure we want it though. We can't get this back. Can't get this back. So nothing super useful. We can't get back the Miriam. We'd want to if we could, but we can't. Gravity was not one of the keywords, was it? No. It was moon. Wait, does she have moon? No. No, it'd be Zangetsu that would have moon. Light? Is light one of the keywords? Oh, light is one of the keywords. Good eye. Okay, so we've got to scrap a card with one of these keywords that isn't light. So, let's look at our hand. I guess the best way to do it would actually be to scrap Rainbow Dash herself, which kind of sucks because we have the armor counter on her, which obviously is very useful. Mew Doll doesn't have anything useful for us in this scenario. Otherwise, we would do that probably. Mew Doll can shuffle a card back in. Wait, okay, let's get Hajime for a second. Does Hajime have any of them? He does not. Okay, if he did, we could have had a play there. We can't play Tails. Wait, so do we have to scrap it? We don't have to scrap a card we control. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to Rainbow Dash. We're going to scrap Tails on a hand because we cannot play Tails this turn. Tails has the air keyword. So we're going to scrap the card with the air keyword. And then we're going to add Miriam, who has the light keyword, back to our hand. And we can play Miriam this turn. So, we are going to... I kind of want Not in the back row now. I want to keep her on the field, but I want her in the back row. She's kind of... Or maybe we give her to our opponent. Like, our opponent doesn't have any characters with free attack, so she's not protected. Yes, we do want to... Hajime Search requires a scrap, right? Cards on 20 press card, that's also turn. Someone card you control offline. Yeah, so we don't want to do that just yet. We will Hajime Search, just not just yet. So I think we're going to give them Not. We could take Sonic. We have Rainbow Dash, who can't attack this turn, since she used a trigger, but she has the fast keyword, so we can make Sonic attack twice. So I think that's worth it. So we're going to Miriam. We're going to invert, give you Not, and take Sonic. Okay. So Sonic can attack twice now, which means he can hit for 16, so we can knock out Aerodactyl. Not only has 5 health, so Dragon Blood Prince can easily knock it out. If we do his effect to deal 6, we could attack once with Sonic on 8 and then hit Akira for 8 and knock her out too. We can knock out their whole board. So So we could indeed get the Hajime search here. We have to send a card we control offline. So either himself or Miriam. I think sending himself offline and then putting him back in my deck with Mudol isn't a terrible shout. Because that draws 2. That just draws 1. Okay, maybe it is a terrible shout. We can't play the Mudol and the Hajime on the field at the same time. There's not enough space. We'd have to play over something, at which point we just send the card we're playing over offline, right? I mean, Hajime Search isn't super necessary this turn. I think we can just keep Hajime in our hand for now. We don't have any cards of darkness, so his last effect isn't useful. I think we're fine with the field as it is. Do you have any useful effects for us right now? Don't think so. When your opponent plays a card with Alcohol Curse, target. Return the cards to your hand. Yeah, that's not super useful for us right now. Jevil would be useful for the idol, but it's not super necessary right now. I think we're fine where we are. So we're going to go. Dragon Ball Prince is going to use Blazing Circlet, which deals. We will use its effect -6 from the attack damage to deal 6 to all the front row characters. This only has 5 health, so it gets knocked out. This takes 6 damage, so it's now on 5 health. Sonic will then use Humming Attack, 8 damage on Aerodactyl, knocks him out. Gotta go fast, passive, target Rainbow Dash, who can't attack this turn anyway. So then Sonic can attack again. Humming Attack, 8 damage. Kira's on 8 health because she took 4 damage last turn. All 3 of these cards are knocked out. We get a prize card. Our opponent gets 2 draws, because one of those is the back row character. Then we end our turn, so they get to draw for turn. So, here we are. What is the Plizzity play? So we've got Hatsuma here. Okay, so first up, we're going to start with Rainbow Dash. Plot center. We use faster than air, since we don't control any other characters right now. That'll definitely work. So we can grab a cap of air back. We can have Aerodactyl. We can have Tails. Probably knowing now that the opponent of this side, was there no not attack negating? Oh, right. I didn't think about that. You want to turn if your front character's attacked, you can set height. Yeah, we do have a lot of items over here. See, that's where the misplay comes in, because in my head I wasn't thinking of the other player controlling the knot since we swapped the knot to the other player. Yes, it would have made sense if knot would have negated an attack there. This game definitely wouldn't be going the same way. It didn't occur to me because obviously I'm sitting on the other side of the field. So when I played Knot down, I had in my head, well, you actually mentioned it, I'd forgotten again, but Knot would negate it, and then because I swapped control, I'd completely forgotten. So, whoops. But yes, probably going to add Tails back since the other character clearly wants Tails. So we can't play Tails a turn. Are there any cards are famous in here? Music? I don't think so. No. Okie dokie. So we can plop Hatsuma down. We could plop a bleed counter on something, but I'm not sure that's really useful. Sonic the hero target to go for? I mean, when we did it, maybe. I don't know if it is now. I feel like now it's probably not. I don't know what other hero target there would be that'd be useful though. Honestly. Anna has a nice buff, but it doesn't work or Rainbow Dashes on the field, I don't think. Because it has to or Tails or Sonic, so it's not that useful. Oh yeah, if this deck okay, let's have a look. Hero Summoning Gate, we're gonna is it scrap a card in your hand? Scrap an item in your hand. You only get to draw off this if you control it, right? Yeah. So we're going to scrap a Suika card because it's useless to us. So we look at our deck and we're going to search for Ufa. That's a very good point. Is Ufa in the deck? He is in the deck. Okay, so we're going to search for Ufa. He's going to take 4 damage here, but it doesn't matter because he's going to go down to 1 health anyway. Ufa is going to... when this character is played from hand, so we can ignore the first effect. Ufa's going to use a quality. Actually, we don't need to play in the front row because he's using a quality. Never mind. Quality is a trigger. Remaining HP of all characters on the field becomes 1. This does not count as those characters taking damage. So I'm just going to write it on this. Everyone 1. Okay. Nothing goes to hand. It's only when his character is played from your hand you bounce something. so you actually don't bounce anything at all, which is pretty handy. So everything's on 1 health. Obviously, this still has an armor counter, so that's still difficult to deal with. Hatsuma is going to use Quick Dash, which deals 2 damage and puts the bleed counter on. Does this not... Oh, it does add it to your hand. Right you are. Right you are. I actually didn't realise that. I thought it played it to the field. I guess we add Rainbow Dash to our hand then when we play this. I'll put the note on this. Okay, so everyone's on 1 health. So Quick Dash obviously resolves the passive, so if we deal the 2 damage, we can KO anything, or we can put the bleed on Rainbow Dash and KO her at the end of the turn, which is also a choice. But I think in this scenario, we want to KO Dragon Blood Prince, because he can hit the whole board. Although Sonic can also attack multiple times, so we can really only deal with like 1 character. Here's the problem. If only we could play Tails this turn. I probably should have used Rainbow Dash's trigger while she was on the field before I bounced her to my hand. So we could add another card back that we could play. We could add Aerodactyl back. Actually, no, I don't think we can add Aerodactyl back. But oh, yeah, we could have. We could have got rid of Orb from our hand. Oh, I didn't have to have. We could have played Orb, scrapped it, got a draw. Yeah, we really misplayed there. So this game isn't really showing off the best of the ability for the YCG. No, there's no Miku targets. The Miku target is Orb. It's just straight up, it's just Orb. Which we would have had in the offline pile. So basically how this turn should have panned out. We add Ufa to our hand. We activate Rainbow Dash's trigger, Weather Control. So we play Orb. We activate Rainbow Dash, Weather Control, scrap the Orb to add Aerodactyl back to our hand. The Orb scrap gets us a draw. We then play Ufa, bouncing Rainbow Dash to our hand, who can no longer attack. Hopefully the drawed card was a character, but even if it's not, we play Aerodactyl to the field, who has an attack at least. If nothing else, he has a basic attack. Like, it doesn't matter what the character is, they're all on 1 health, right? So then we would use Quick Dash to bleed the Rainbow Dash out, and then we'd use probably use Ninjutsu Raijin to keep Hatsuma alive. We'd use the basic attack on Aerodactyl to hit Sonic, and then assuming that we drew into a character the basic attack on the other character to hit Dragon Blood Prince to wipe out the front row, we'd get a prize when the bleed took effect, and we'd have 2 characters that didn't have 1 HP, and our Hatsuma would have an armor counter. So even though he's on 1 HP, he still might survive most attacks. That is how this turn should have played out. But I screwed up many times. But you can see the general gist of what this deck is trying to do. Unfortunately, this is probably a scenario now where you would just scoop. You'd be like, well, I can't win at this point. It's basically an unwinnable game. You've sort of screwed the pooch a bit too much. You're already behind. You made a misplay that lowered your card amount. You definitely could have gone plus here. This deck definitely has some solid plays to it. Again, I probably should have looked at the deck before we played it. I specifically was like, nah, I won't bother. Made some misplays because of that. So we'll stock that up to me being bad. And you know what? It's not the end of the world. We got to show off what some of the capabilities of this emotion deck are. Not really many of them, honestly. There are definitely some plays that we thought here. We definitely want to put Tails in this deck. I might put the deck profile of this deck with Tails in it, because I'm going to add Tails to it. On the wiki, there's a link on the wiki that shows deck profiles. Well, they're not like people's deck profiles, although if people do come up with some in the future, I might add that. But they're like structure decks, starter decks, that sort of thing. So if you ever delete them, you can rebuild them or whatever. Because I don't blame you for deleting them. They're not intentionally designed to be amazing. But yeah, since this is the deck we built together on the stream for the video, you know, I'll probably put this deck profile up on that.